is organizing data. So when we're given data, you want to organize it. Because in our world, what happens is, is mathematically, actually, we're bombarded with numbers, but in our world, it's like 100 times that. We're always bombarded with information and numbers and values. Get your note paper out. Get a pencil out. Get ready to start writing. Okay, so what happens is, bombarded with all this information, but let's take a look at what organizing information does to help us with mathematics, and not only that, helps us in the real world. So let's say this, guys. Let's say that I'm giving, oh, I don't know, let's just make a chart here, and I'm just creating a box. What I'm going to say here is within this box, I'm going to call this distance. And here, I'm just going to give you some values here. And really what happens is the employees at a computer company, they are listed their estimated distance of living from work or traveling from work. And what we want to do here is say, hey, let's look at all this information and just see what we can gather from it. Okay, so I got all this information out in front of my face, and just like life, all this information jumbled up doesn't really help, because it can be, one, confusing, two, frustrating, but if you organize it, you might have some clarity, you'll find some structure, and that's what we're trying to do. We're organizing this information to find structure and clarity. So I'm going to create a second table here, and within this table, let's move this out of the way, actually. Move it down here, we'll have more space to write. So within this, all I'm going to do is reorganize the data up top. Huh? Isn't me? I don't even need that tablet. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna fix that because it's a little sloppy, but I was curious to see if that actually worked. Well, we're given all this data, and like I said earlier, actually I think it will work. I'm just gonna change the color up, and what I want to do is in the top left box, I'm gonna call that the distance again. I'm just gonna put a D because it's such a small box. And below, I'm going to use an F for frequency. I'm going to call this the frequency. And you can spell out frequency, because I want to know how many times these values occur for each value that I'm going to plug in. Well, the distance that I'm dealing with are 5. Got to get a smaller pen, guys. I got to get 5, 10, 15, 20. Those are hard to see, aren't they? Oh, big time. Okay, let's see if this works. There we go. 5. Let's just pretend that these are in the boxes there. 10, 15, 20, You know what? I don't even like this. Give me a second here. You guys just stay calm, relaxed, focused, and I'm going to refix this. Guys, I'm going to redraw the same box that I had before. I'm just going to make it more clear. Okay, so again, in this left box, I've got a D for distance, and I've got an F for frequency. So now I've got 5. This is going to be for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. So now, changing the color here to yellow. I'm going to rewrite. I'm just taking this big jumbled list and reorganizing them. So I want to know the distance for each one. Well, I'm dealing with 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 4. That looks like a 9, so I'll change that back to a 4, 40, and 45. And down below, well, how many times does 5 occur? Well, you can see here it only occurs once, so cross it out. The frequency for 5 is 1. And how many times does 10 occur? Well, you see 1, 2, 3, and 4 times. And then, how many times does 15 occur? I see it 3 times, so cross out 15 and say, okay, there's 3 of them. And for 20, there's also, it looks like about 1, 2, 3 20s. And then for 25, doesn't look like there's any 25s, so I'm going to say, hey, 0. And then for 30s, it looks like I got 1 and 2. Let's say 2. And then for 35, I have 1. For 40, I also have 1. And for 45, I only have 1. And then I'm done with all my numbers. 1 and 1. All right, so from here, what I'm going to do is create, it asks me to create a line plot to organize the data even more. And a line plot, all it is, creating a line just like a number line. Now what I'm going to do here is say, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And then just number them at the bottom again. Cool. So what this is telling me here is that I'm going to choose a new color again. I'm going to use pink. Okay, so for 5, it only occurs 1 time, so I'm just going to put 1x right down here above the 5. And 10 occurs 4 times, so I'll put an x. Not only 1x, but 2, 3, and 4 x's above the 10. For 15, I'm going to create 3 x's. So hey, 1, 2, bless you, 3. And then for 20, also 3. We've got 1, 2, 3. For 25, there are none, so just skip 25 and say for 30, I've got 2. So, okay, 1, 2. For 35, 40, and 45, there are only 1x for each. So now you see, hey guys, I had someone ask me a great question earlier. It was, hey, why are we creating all these tables when all I could do is just put all the x's down below? Well, for some people, this data right here, they don't need this information organized. This list helps them out. Some people can really just look at lists and just get it. But to me, I'll be honest, for me, guys, this is confusing right here. It just looks like a mess. In fact, I don't even want to stand back here. Distance, this big orange box, it's real confusing to me. And I mean, it looks like numbers. It doesn't really tell me much. And then some people, they can really handle these tables real well at it. And what they do is they say, oh, that makes sense because everything's organized in lists. Totally get it. But it really, for me, helps out when I look at the line plot, because at the bottom, you can actually visualize that the largest chunk of people that live away from work or travel from work have to travel between 10 to 20 miles from work. This is the largest chunk of people right here. But when you fall less than 10, you say, well, there aren't too many people traveling under 10 miles, and there aren't too many people traveling over 20 miles to work. So the majority of people are traveling right here in between 10 to 20 miles from work. Okay. So data, if you can organize it, put it in list or organized list, and then create visualizations of it, they actually help you to understand structure or find structure and meaning within the numbers or lists that you're looking at. Cool stuff. So let's move on to the next problem here. And the next problem that we're going to deal with is about stem and leaf plots. We're going to learn about stem and leaf plots, and here's the deal. Say that I have this. I'm going to scroll down here, make some fresh page, and say that I have these values here, dude. I'm going to get a bigger pen again. There we go. So these are my stems. In the stem and leaf plot, this column to the left are my stems. These are my leaves. Let's say that I'm given the stem and leaf plot that looks like this. Under my stems, I have 0, 1, 2, 3. And under my leaves, right across from 0, I have 2. And Brendan, you need to be sitting up for taking notes, bud. Get your head up. 3, 3, 7, 8. I've got a 0, 2, and I don't know, a 6, a 1, and a 7. Okay, so these are all my values, but this is what a stem and leaf plot looks like. Well, what does that mean? Well, the stems, these values under the stems, they're my first digit. This is how I'm going to read numbers, based off this first digit. And the leaves, each value in the leaves is a second digit. So here's an example. This 3 under the stem and this 1 under leaf creates the value of 31. And then the 3 and the 7 create a value of 37. So let's go through and actually list these numbers in order from left to right, smallest to greatest. And the first value that I'm dealing with are these stems, and these look to be Tim's place values. So I'm going to start with 0, 2, which is 2, then 0, 5 would be 5. And I'm going to move to the next row now. I'm going to deal with 1 and 3. Well, that makes 13. And I see another 1 and 3, so I have another 13. What's up, Robert? A 1 and 7, 17. Go ahead, dude. After this. And 18. So now below here, I've got a 2 and a 0. That's 20. 2 and a 2 is 22. Got 26, and then now I get to my 30s. 31 and 37. Johnny, where are your notes?
No, they're not.
You better start making them existent. Guys, we're going over this, so start creating some notes. I'm not doing this to just chat with you guys. I could talk to a wall if that were the case. This is for you to create notes and have clarity for tonight's homework.
I already know this. I don't know.
Johnny, we're going to have a talk after class, buddy. It's about you speaking up and not speaking up, speaking out and making comments that aren't necessarily a disruption to class. You're doing it again. When you should, in fact, be silent, working. If you have a question that could add to class, guess what? That's when you raise your hand and help out. We're going to have that conversation after class. Guys, moving forward from here, this is how you create a list off of a stem and leaf plot. But what if you want to do the reverse? What if I want to create a stem and leaf plot from actually having a list? Johnny, get a piece of paper out and a pencil and start writing. Here's the values that you're given. I'm going to type them in here. Let's say that you're given 57, 65, 89, 74, 57, 68, 82, 84, 77, 70, 63, 85, 76, 68, and 39. Yes, sir, Leo. What's up, buddy? Okay. So this is just another list of numbers. It's a mess. And what we're going to do from here is create a stem and leaf plot from it. So again, the first thing you want to do is create your columns. So you got stems and leaves. And if I look at this, good job, John. If I look at this, guys, well, the values I want to look at for the stems, because they're my first digit, I want to look at the first significant value. The first significant value up here is, if I look at these, it looks to be the tens, because I'm looking at 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Nothing in the ones, nothing in the hundreds. So my significant values are tens. So I want to look at the smallest of those numbers first. If you look at the chart, you find, 39 seems to be the smallest. So I'm going to put a 3 here. And then, let's see, what else do I have? I got some 50s, some 60s, 70s, 80, 89 looks to be like my biggest number. So I don't see 90, I don't see anything above it. So this is going to move from 3 all the way down to 8 for the 80s. And not 9, since 9 is not in the list there. So, keep moving. Okay, back on track. We got 3. 40s, I'll put a 4. 50s, I'll put a 5, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that's supposed to be my line all the way down. I'm just creating it. But here's the question, guys. What do I do with the leaves? Well, it's not too difficult if you understand that, hey, the 3 is in place for 30 something, right? So the leaves are those something that I'm going to add. Let's put all of the second digits under the leaves. So for 30, I see I only have 39, so I can cross out 39 and put a 9 down here. So 39, 39. Okay, let's move to my 40s. Any 40s up on the list? Not at all. Well, let's change my color. We'll get some color in here. Some autumn yellows. No. Let's get some autumn browns in here. So what we'll do here is I'm going to put some browns down. No 40s, so I'll skip the 40s and move straight to the 50s. Well, I see a 57 and a 57. Anything else? Nope. So I only have 2 7s here. 7, comma 7. And I'm going to label both 7s. I'm going to let, so I want to know again, remember the frequency. I want to see the frequency of it. And then I can cross out those 57s. And let's move on to the 60s. Well, I have a 65, a 63. I got a 68. And any other 60s? Another 68. So I'm going to have a 3, a 5, an 8, Thomas, and an 8, buddy. We got a 3, a 5, an 8, and 8. And then for 70s, I've got 74, 70, 77, 76. So let's do 70, 74, 76, 77. So 0, 4, 6, 7. And then for my 80s, well, my 80s, I've got an 84 and an 89, an 85 and an 82. So 2, 5, 4, 5, 9. All right, so now here's my stem and leaf plot. And now it's starting to make sense. These are my, and that's all we got to do there. So taking data that's jumbled up in a list can be reorganized in a stem and leaf plot to actually make some more clarity and structure within our understanding of, I don't know, what do you call this? Just chaotic craziness? Sure, let's do that. We'll call it chaotic craziness. All right. So moving forward from here, let's actually just move down the screen again. Let's do a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. Johnny, you know how to do back-to-back stem and leaf plots? You know how to do back-to-back stem and leaf plots? No? So maybe this information that you... So maybe the information you understood from the third grade is a good refresher for the next thing we're getting into. Okay, moving on, boys and girls. Let's say this. Let's say I'm going to give you a bunch of different numbers here, and then I'll explain what those numbers are. So let's get rid of autumn green, browns, and we'll go to, oh, I don't know, we'll do, that purple's kind of hard to see. Let's see this purple. Let's do this, P is 1. So at this college, there are students in each section, and what we're going to look at is the total number of students per class in a classroom. So in college, you typically have classrooms that have over 200 people in the class. 170, 286, 267, 240, 231, 267, 261. And then for the Spanish course, this other section, there are people, those courses are filled with 277, 281, 260, 275. Did I write? Oh, yeah, I see that. So 260. Oh, that's why. Okay. So 260, 275, 235, 239, 242, 268. Okay, so here I have two different lists of this jumbledness. Nothing's really organized. So what I want to do here is say, hey, is there any way that I can organize this to make sense of both lists? And yeah, it turns out there is, and what you do, it's called a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. So I'm not only going to make one stem and leaf plot, I'm going to make two. And the way to do it here is, we're going to, yes sir, Thomas.
So like on stem and leaf plots with just like 39 and 6, just those 2-digit numbers, we put the 6 on, we just put that first number on the side, now do we put like two numbers on the stem side and one on the leaf side?
That's a great question. You're going to find out. I totally hear what you're saying. This guy's thinking ahead because that's how creative he is. Guys, you want to get ahead in life? Hang out with some creative people. Thomas is, there you go. That's right, Tom. Get your respect. All right, back on track here. Something's going on. It's not working. All right. So let's call this side my psychology course. And let's call the other side my Spanish course, students. And down the middle, I'm going to call these my stems. So I got my stems down the middle. And remember, the stems are what? They are your first or second set of digits. The stems are your first. The stems are your first set of digits, silly. No, they are your first. I know. They're your first set of digits. So let's go and look at this. Let's label this with the first set of digits. Well, I could put a 2 here. I got a lot of 2s, and I got a lot of different 200 values. So instead of looking at the first digit, I'm going to look at the first and second digit. I'm looking for the tens. So here, I see, well, I got 240 something, 250, 260 something, 280 something. So my stems are going to be filled with the hundreds place value and the tens place value. So what I'm not going to do here is, well, let's look for the smallest set of 200, and it looks like 235 is going to be the smallest number here. Do you see 231 above? There we go. So 231. So my 230s are the smallest. So I'm going to put a 23 right here. Yes, sir, Leo.
If you had like numbers like 200s and 300s and 400s, would you just be the first digit instead of the first two?
I see what you're saying. So if they're just straight, yeah, that would be the case. If you had various hundreds and all they were was like 400, 500, 600, it'd be real easy to do that, right? 4, 5, 6. Sure. So what we're going to do here is say, hey, here are my stems, and what I'm going to do, okay, 230. So then let's look at what the largest number is. So I got 40s, some 60s, some 80s. Don't have any 90s. So it's going to stop at the 280s. 280s is my largest. So this is going to go from 23 up to 28. 23, 24, 25, 26. Cool.
Man, those are some straight lines.
Are you impressed, Peter?
Yes.
Pretty cool stuff, isn't it, man? What? What did you say? Oh, I thought you said something different. I thought you were going to be hanging out with me and little Johnny over there after class, man. Okay.
Oh,
But I'm glad you said shift. Okay. Back on track. Back. So we got our stems. Now let's look at, well, what's my psychology? Just looking up at psychology, how would I label this? Well, 230 something, so 23, 230 something. 231 is my smallest number. So I'm going to put a 1 right here in a comma. Say, are there any other 230s? No, so I don't even need the comma really. So let's go on to 240s. So 240s I have, oh, let's see, 240 and 245. So let's cross out 240 and 245. So I'll put a 0 and a 5. And any confusion here? We're feeling pretty strong with this? Lower your heads, guys. Everybody lower your heads. Close your eyes. Lower your head, Blaine. Anybody confused? Raise your hand if you're confused with this. Okay. Sounds good. I think we're rolling good. Raise your heads. We're good to go. So 25, and now let's just finish this chart up. Well, I have no 250s, but I do have a few 260s. I have a 67, a 67, and a 61. So I'm skipping the 250s for psychology and saying 1, 7, and 7 because I want to label both. Why do I want to label both? Because I want to talk about that starts with an F. I want to be able to know the frequency of how many times it occurs. So for 270, I got 1 270, and then 286 as well. So I'll label both of those real quick. I put a 0 for 270 and a 6 for 286. All right, now moving on to Spanish, the Spanish side, and let's label all of these. Well, okay, I've got 250, 235, and 239. And guys, let me just refresh you here. When you read this, you're reading off of the stem first. If I were right here looking at psychology and I see a 1, I'm not going to say 126. Read off the stem first and say 261.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Peter. You got it, man. Peter, you can be in the band. I want to be in the band. I want to be in the band. There you go. Okay. Oh, here we go. So 235, 239, 249. Let's see, 242. Put a 2 down. And I don't have any 50s, 250s, so I do have a couple 260s, and it looks like it stops here at 260. Oh, wait, I have a few more. 260, 268. Then I have 277, 275, 277. And 281. So we'll want at the end. Okay. So now here it's really cool because now you can see that, hey, most of the people taking courses or most of the classes, well, the greatest number is psychology with it looks like the 260s, and also the Spanish. It looks like the 260s are where they really like to fill up their classes. Most students go and attend these courses that are filled with 260 or more students. Cool stuff. Okay. How much time do we have on the clock?
2 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
So this is tonight's homework.
I didn't do that.
This is tonight's homework, guys. Class? Class? Homework tonight is page 81, problems, and page 182, problems number 7 and 8 only. Great problem. Hey, Robert. Yeah, thank you for waiting. Go ahead.